there ain't no stopping us. Fly without boarding pass. Couldn't catch me, I'll be moving fast. Call me a shooting star. Let 'em know who you are. Flying up in a bar. Wish on a star. Time to show 'em who's in charge. Call me a shooting star. Shooting stars. Didn't even get to cross. I'm moving too far. Get to glass. Looking at a shooting star. Got more than a couple of people going mad. I swear they're rooting hard. Tell them I be big in the game like she went and got them breast implants. I said I'm moving too fast. Didn't even get a glance. I'm ready to eat up track like I'm seated in a restaurant. If you had swag like mine, you know it's best to flaunt. We aren't hating because you aren't. Shining like it's neon. Rock like Kings of Leon. Shooting stars across the galaxy. I stand out, so don't be mad at me. Infiltrate, I'm with my strategy. When I turn up, then I just have to leave. Shooting stars across the galaxy. I stand out, so don't be mad at me. Infiltrate, I'm with my strategy. When I turn up, then I just have to leave. Yeah, shooting. Yeah, shooting. Yeah, shooting. Yeah, shooting shots. Shooting stars. Didn't even get to cross.
The first game we look for, Robbie. Tottenham away. When we got Tottenham away? Tottenham away. When we got Tottenham away?
Hey, how you doing, people? Morning. Hope everyone's well. It's Friday. The weekend is almost here. Today, I thought I'd do an analysis on Mickey van der Ven, who it looks like we're going to sign, although Daniel Levy is in charge of the final stages of the deal. So let's see what happens. But I thought I wanted to have a deeper look at him, understand a bit more about him, because from what I've seen, I'm not 100% convinced, but I haven't properly looked at it a bit more in depth. So last night I watched quite a bit of content and did some statistical analysis. It's always good to do the eye test and the stats together and then bring it to what Postecoglou's system is going to look like. Let me quickly say good morning or good evening, wherever you live in the world, to people in the chat. Big up Eugene, hope you're well. C to the fourth, destroy his fraud. Maguire with pace but can't hit a ball. Oh my lord. There are some areas that I am very concerned about. There's also some actual areas that surprise me with him in a positive way. So I will get into it. Big up Hotspur. We've got Elias in the house. How you doing, my man? El Said, big up. Q7, morning, Stel. You literally read my mind. Was thinking you haven't done one of these. Yeah, I'm here, man. I'm here. Full ball in the house. Valentin, what up, Stel? Excited for this talk. Yeah, this will be a good one. I won't disappoint. Benjamin, how you doing? We got Dens. How you doing? Good morning to you as well. Barbaric, good morning, Stel. You dashing young fellow. We've also got Ron. My name is Jeff. That cracks me up every time. Ian S. Oi, oi. Leronaka. Lerionka. Hola, Stel. Hola. We've got 60 people in the house. Smash a like, subscribe. So I'll get straight into it, people. I also want to briefly touch on the Argentinian player we're looking at as well, who Fabrizio Romano announced. Here we go. I always look forward to these still. Keep it up. Big up MS3. Hi from Leicester. Hi, David. All right, look, let's get into it. So who am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about this man here, Mickey van der Ven. I think he looks better in orange. Yeah, I prefer him in orange. Okay, who is he? Basic info. Mickey van der Ven. He's essentially 21 years old, very young. Just so you know, in the UK, if you're 21, you're still classed as a youth football player. You're a youth player until you're 21. So 21 years old, nationality, he's from Holland, he's Dutch. His position is centre-back, primarily left-sided, can play as a left fullback, but I don't advise it. But his position is centre-back. He's 6'3", so tall. Currently plays for Wolfsburg. His valuation is anything between 30 million to 45. The reason I say that is because we were going to play 30, but it looks like we're going to play 45 million now. The market's a bit crazy. So when we assess a player, we need to understand the principles of play for that position. Now, he's a defender. So when we're assessing a player who is a defender, there's 5 key areas to any defender in terms of the principles of play that we should apply to the defender. So the first of all is a press, which is defending high up the pitch, squeezing the team, either hunting impacts or one-on-one high up the pitch. We all know what a press is. Then you have delay, deny, and dictate. Delay is when you slow down the opposition and you buy yourself time so other players can come back and support you. I'll put it up on the screen, just the phase of play. Deny is when you essentially stop someone, so a tackle or a block. Dictate is showing a player which direction you want them to go. So you're dictating the direction of travel. I'll explain that in a minute a bit more. Then you have emergency defending and goal protection. That's basically your last resort. That's your last chance to stop them from scoring. So either a goalkeeper making a save or a last-ditch tackle or a block to prevent them from scoring. So let's go through it again. By the way, I've got a trick. All right, ready? Hey, you like that? Come on. I'm just mucking about. In between each kind of defensive set of principles, whether it's a press, whether it's to delay, deny, dictate, or emergency defending, you have transitions. Transitions are basically, if you press the ball and win the ball, you then transition into possession. If you delay someone, deny, dictate, eventually you win back possession. Then you transition into having the ball, which is why it says out of possession, meaning defending. If it was in possession, it would be attacking. So these are out of possession defensive principles of play. So what I've done is I've looked at him based on these areas: pressing, emergency defending, goal protection, delay, deny, and dictate. So when we're developing coaching players who are defenders or players who are attackers who are going to have defensive responsibilities like pressing, this is kind of our framework that we work on as coaches. So when looking at Mickey van der Ven, this is what I've observed from him, okay? Strengths. Notice how I don't put weaknesses. The reason I don't put weaknesses is because as a coach, you're trained areas to improve on. it's always going to be a weakness, but you can improve on it. So if you're really, really good on your right foot and not so good on your left, you can improve the left, but will it ever be as good as the right foot? I don't know, but just so you have some clarity as to why I've put areas to improve on. So in terms of strengths, his defending, specifically when it comes to delay, remember here where I said delay in the bottom corner? Yeah. Delay is in this section here. When it comes to delay, he's very good. He creates good defensive angles and he has good recovery speed. Let me explain this. So let's say you've got 2 defenders against 3 attackers. Yeah, you're outnumbered. What are you going to do? If you go 2 on 3, one of them is going to be free, the attacking player. So if these 2 attackers against these 2 defenders, if the attackers pass it to the attacker who's free, you don't have the numbers, otherwise known as defending when outnumbered. So what you should do in that instance is slow them down, otherwise known as delay. And the reason you do that is so that you give your teammates time to run back and help support you so you can go to 3v3 or ideally 4 against 3. So you outnumber them. So when it comes to slowing down the opposition, delaying them, he's very good. Partly because he's got the pace to recover, but also because the angle of his body, his shape, slows down the opposition. It makes the opposition think, which way are you going to go, defender? So now he's making them think, should I go left? Should I go right? That slows them down. There's 1, 2, 3 seconds, gives the midfield or other defenders time to recover. That's a good quality that he has. Ball carrying, look, he almost plays like a box-to-box midfielder. He exploits the space and he does it with speed. This boy's got really explosive speed between first and second gear. I'm telling you, I watched a lot last night and I was surprised for a player of his height and his position. The boy's got pace. So when he carries the ball, he knows where to exploit the space when he sees it. He does it with speed and he's very hard to dispossess when he's traveling at pace. And the reason is because he's going at pace. He's got very good feet as well. The way he shifts the ball from the right foot to the left and left to the right is impressive. So his ball carrying abilities are good. And finally, his physicality. He's got a really big frame. He's got that Vertonghen-esque type frame, which is perfectly suited to the Premier League. So just to repeat, number one, when defending in terms of the delay principle, very good. In terms of carrying the ball and taking us up the field, very good. And he keeps possession. He doesn't lose the ball too often. And finally, his stature. He's got a very good physique. Areas to improve on. And these are my concerns with him. When it comes to defending principle, deny, which is also just here, delay, deny, and dictate. The 3 Ds, we call them. When it comes to defending, denying a player, which is tackling, putting a block in, he plays way too narrow. And he's got reluctance to push into the midfield and engage the ball higher up. In fact, he's just like Eric Dyer. He backs off. I don't like that. My biggest gripe with Eric Dyer is he doesn't tackle enough. I never see Eric Dyer tackle. So if we're going to be playing a high line, he needs to push into that midfield and win the ball there. He's got reluctance to do that. He prefers to drop off a bit. That's not good. Not for a Postecoglou system. So as much as I'm assessing him by the principles of play, I'm also assessing it in terms of how Postecoglou wants to set up a team. So for me, guys, the fact that he doesn't like to push into that midfield to engage the ball and he plays too narrow, I think that's a problem, especially when we're going to have 2 centre-backs pushing up high on the halfway line. The other issue I've got with him, again, is defending. He's actually now the bottom left section, which is just there. Emergency defending. So last-ditch tackles, last-ditch blocks. He's got this bad habit of going to ground way too often and too early, and he overstretches his tackles. So he's either missing the ball or he's giving away fouls. Now, how do I summarize this? Because on the one hand, see, this is so tricky because on the one hand, if you think about it, he can delay the opposition. Well, if we're going to play high up the pitch with a high line defense, we're going to get caught out. So you want a defender that can delay. He can do that. You want in a Postecoglou team, all the players to be really good in possession and to keep the ball, or he's really good at ball carrying. So that's another tick. This is the Premier League, and physically, this boy's got it. So in terms of Premier League, Postecoglou team, he's got the attributes. He's got what we need. However, he's still a defender. He still has to defend. When I look at him as a defender, guys, I've got an issue with him tackling and blocking, and I've got an issue with him with emergency defending, last-ditch attempts to save us. I don't know what to make of it. It's almost as if he was a midfielder, he'd be great. If he was a midfielder, he would be a good player. But he's not. He's a defender, which makes me think, oh, man, I'm worried about this. And I am. But it gets interesting. And this is where I wasn't expecting this to be the case, but it is. All right. So when I then go, in fact, let me take some of your comments and then I'll go into the stats, because the stats surprised me and it's kind of made me think maybe we should buy him, but I'm cautious. Let me just take a couple of your comments, guys, and then I'll go into it a bit more. Who we got here? Who we got here? Who we got here? Big up, Stel. Big up, Rodriguez. Aiden. Dictate is when you dictate. Oh, my God. What a terrible joke. Also, weakness sounds negative. Correct. And especially because I work with players from the age of 6 up to 21. It is negative. You're right. That is actually the main reason we don't use it. But also, you can improve. You can still improve. And the good thing is he's 21, so he can improve. 97 people in the chat, only 30. Like, smash the like, people. All your support is welcome. When he cut off Son, but he also made the shooting angle unfavorable. And that comes down to, where he cut off Son, but he also made the shooting angle unfavorable. So that would be under dictate. And if you notice, I never put dictate as a weakness. I never put dictate defending as a weakness. What you're describing there, C to fourth, is dictating the play. Big up, Stel. Big up, John. How you doing? Is that space Bundesliga tax? The Premier League team's pressing that action. Well, we're going to find out, bro. We're going to find out. That's for sure. Sammy, big up. A central defender who doesn't tackle. This is what we had every game for the last 5 years. Okay, when I say he doesn't tackle, I'm referring to emergency defending, otherwise known as last-ditch tackles, last-ditch blocks. He's got a bad habit of going in too soon and not holding ground. I'm more concerned about him in the air. Aerially, when we get to the stats, when we look at him as an aerial presence, this guy's terrible. He's terrible. And when you think about our weaknesses, set pieces, oh boy, which is why I said, if he was a midfielder, he'd be a great player, but he's a defender. Ugh. There is a positive end, though, to the weakness areas to improve on. There is a positive to this, which I think you lot will like. Sounds crap to me, so we'll get him. What is that Tottenham are seeing with this player that you are not still? How are they not seeing this? I think I know. We will get there. Congratulations, you got someone. We haven't got him yet. Oh, you're talking about striker. I'm very worried about this signing. I've got apprehensions as well, Eel. I do. He does seem better than what you've got. He is better than what we've got. Other than Romero. People think he's Maldini. He's not Maldini. No chance. Do you think he backs off so much as he's too confident in his pace? If you're confident in your pace, you would go to the ball, because then if the player beats you, you can recover and get back. If you've got pace, you do the opposite to what you've said. Does that make sense? If I've got pace, I'll go high up the pitch because I know I can run back and catch you. To back off normally is when a player hasn't got pace. So if I was Ben Davis, I would back off because I can't catch you if you go past me. So it's the opposite to what you said, Q7. Max Kilman would be cheaper. Do you know what? In this market, I don't know who's cheap anymore. Good morning, Levy's an expert in delay denied. Oh, very good, very good. He is mistiming his aerials too. He's not good in the air. He's not good in the air. Stel was about to say he can't head a ball. He can't head a ball. He can't. Morning, big up. How is he 6'4" but poor in the air? Well, timing, reading the game, and actually having practiced how to do it. So you can be, some goalkeepers are really tall, but they're just rubbish at being a goalkeeper. It's all about how you've been coached and how much practice you've had at what you've been coached. Wow, if you can't hit a ball, ouch, I know. Sorry, I'm late. Don't worry. Tottenham on tour. Big up Tottenham on tour. Brian Daigle, Ben, Ryan, and all the boys over there. Oh, Tottenham Raid. Thank you guys for sending everyone over. Oh, welcome, guys. There's loads of you coming in. Thank you so much, Tottenham on tour. I will definitely repay the favor when I get a chance. Big up to everyone in the chat. So for those of you that have just joined us, I'll quickly recap before I push on because I do want to go into the statistical analysis as well. Yeah, I get what you mean, mate. Big up. So what I basically said is with the VEN, I've basically analysed him on defensive principles of pressing the ball, delay, deny and dictating the play, and emergency defending, goal protection. These are the defensive principles of play. And what I've said is when defending, when slowing down the opposition to give our team time to recover, he's very good. Carrying the ball with possession and pace, he's extremely good. And he's got the physical strength for the Premier League. The weaknesses are when defending, his tackling and his blocking high up the pitch isn't good, and he defends too narrow. And in terms of emergency defending, he goes to ground too quick, in a nutshell. So let's look at the stats. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look at him as a brief stat snapshot. Then I'm going to go into a more in-depth defensive and possession-based set of statistics, so defending and attacking. Then I'm going to compare him statistically to Tapsoba. And that is where I was surprised. Because I thought Tapsoba was really, really good, which I do think he is. But the stats tell a slightly different picture. Anyway, so this is his individual stats in terms of his attacking prowess. Now, when you look at his passing, passes attempted, passing completion, progressive passes, he's not bad. These marks are out of 100. So 50 is about average. Pass completion, 87.7%. That's really high. That's a very good pass completion rate. Now, if you think we're going to be passing the ball out from the back and then we're going to be playing out wide, maybe coming back in, so a 1-2 and then forward and out wide, so almost like a triangle pattern of play, and then switching it across the back line with the goalkeeper almost playing as a sweeper keeper, you need people that can make accurate passes and not get that wrong. This is where Eric Dyer, Ben Davies, Sanchez, they murder us. Romero is good at it. This boy is good at it. He is good at it. The stats show it as well. In terms of progressive carries and successful take-ons, so traveling with the ball, look at these figures, 90 and 93. That is absolute top draw. That is exceptionally good, guys, which is why it links back to the eye test where I said carrying the ball, he exploits the space with speed, and it's hard to dispossess him. Well, the stats back it up. The stats confirm what the eye test, what my eye test analysis is. So he does seem to be like almost a midfielder that likes to go forward with the ball more than a defender. Make of it what you want. Progressive passes, 86 as well. So in terms of passing, carrying the ball, successful take-ons, what I really like about him is successful take-ons. You know he's Dutch because one-on-one, he can beat a man. And the Dutch, they do coach for total football, being comfortable on the ball. So the fact that he can take on players means that he's got quick feet and he's got pace. And if you watch him play, he has got quick feet and he has got pace. A bit like Steven Bergwijn. Steven Bergwijn had no problem taking on players. The Dutch know how to coach that. We lack it here in the UK, unfortunately, but the Dutch do coach it. So when I say that he's good at carrying the ball and he doesn't get dispossessed, I'm not surprised that his stats are very high for progressive carries, successful take-ons, and progressive passes. However, if we look at the bottom half, tackles, interceptions, blocks, clearances, aerials 1, he's terrible. He's not good. Tackling 43, interceptions 13, blocks not too bad, clearances 31, aerials 1, 4. Guys, that is awful. Like I said, I go back to what I said. Pros, strengths and areas to improve on in terms of his play. I'm worried about him as a defender. I'm very confident with him as a midfield type player. But the problem is when you assess a player who's a defender, you have to go by the principles of play. You have to assess him by his pressing abilities, his defending in an emergency situation, his goal protection, delay, deny, and dictate. And when we look at these, he is lacking. And the stats back it up. So this is a snapshot of him in possession and out of possession. What I've then done is gone more in depth into the possession and defensive stats. So in possession, we've already explained how he's got good touches, how on the ball he carries the ball really well, but there's more positives here. Not only is he successful at taking on players, 93, but the amount of times he attempts to do it. So you might take on 2 players and you get past the player each time and people go, yeah, that's brilliant. But what if you took on 10 players and you only got past 2? This guy likes to take on players. And if you look at the statistics on the attempted take-ons, which I think is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rows down, this guy likes to take on players. I love that. I love it when a player can take on a player and looks forward to doing it. Because my one gripe with Spurs is over the years, we don't have enough players that can take on a man. The only players I've seen that take on players over the last maybe 4 or 5 years are Steven Bergwijn, Lucas Moura, Kulusevski, and Heung-min Son. And they've all been inconsistent at it. If we can have someone that can confidently take on players on a regular basis, that is a massive bonus because 1, you take players out of the game. 2, you create an overload. And 3, that's what excites us as fans. When you see someone take on a play, you're like, yeah, go on. So it's entertaining, it's good for the team, and it creates overloads. And overloads tend to be what opens up teams, especially in the final third. So I like it, guys. I like him on the ball. I think as a football player, he's good. I think he's a good football player. And the possession-based attacking stats, they confirm it. He does seem to have a lot more touches in the attacking third, which means this guy really does get high up the pitch, which is making me think this is why he'll work even better for a Postecoglou team. He carries the ball over quite a good distance. Progressive carrying distance is decent. Look, the highest statistic measurement here is the amount of time he carries the ball into the penalty area. Not passing the ball into the penalty area, carrying the ball into the penalty area. Guys, just so you know the difference between traveling with the ball and dribbling. Traveling with the ball is otherwise known as running with the ball. That's when you're unopposed. No one's trying to tackle you. So when you move with the ball and there's no one trying to tackle you, that's running with the ball. Dribbling is when someone's trying to tackle you. So if someone comes up to me trying to take the ball off me, I now go into a dribble because I've got to get past them. So the key difference between running and traveling with the ball is the key difference between running stroke traveling with the ball and dribbling is traveling stroke running with the ball is unopposed. Dribbling is opposed. So whenever I say traveling, running, dribbling, just make sure you know the difference with that. Defensively, I mean, mini alarm bells are going off here, you know. Tackles, low. Tackles 1, average. Tackles in the defensive third, where he's supposed to be, the lowest. So when we look at him in terms of tackling in the defensive third, the midfield third, and the attacking third, what surprised me is most of his successful tackles are actually in the midfield third, which contradicts what I said. Areas to improve on, defending, deny. He doesn't push into the midfield and win the ball enough. But the statistics say, actually, that's where he wins most of his tackles. However, just because he wins most of his tackles in the midfield third, that doesn't mean that suddenly he's good at tackling. It just means out of the tackles he does make, he wins most in the midfield. But he doesn't do it enough for me when I watch him play. In terms of tackles in our penalty box, he's very, very low. And I guess that's going to be the alarming thing, because the weakness at Spurs is our defending in and around our penalty box, especially balls that come into the box from an aerial threat. That is a concern. There's no way you can't cover it up. In terms of blocks, shots blocked, passes blocked, he's not too bad. He's not too bad. As I thought he was a bit worse, but he's not. The bottom bit, though, is horrendous. Interceptions are non-existent, which means, is his reading of the game good enough? Tackles and interceptions combined, really low. Clearances, really low. Errors, low as well. So when I look at that data, some bits I'm kind of thinking, well, actually, maybe you are a bit better at tackling higher up the pitch than what I thought. But when I say the eye test tells me that the areas to improve on are defending, higher up the pitch, he's too narrow, and putting in blocks and overstretching for tackles for emergency defending, well, the stats back up the eye test. It's as simple as that. There are some variances where you could say, well, actually, the data might suggest something different, but overall, the eye test and the stats, they align. So what do? We've got a player who's clearly a good football player, but we're crying out for centre-backs because we can't defend. But Postecoglou's team needs players that can do both. Oh, boy. How have we scouted this guy? Do you know what he's going to be? He's going to be a headache, but a good headache, but frustrating. That's what he's going to be. I'll take a few more comments and then we'll get into the analysis where I've compared him to Tapsoba. And that's where it got that completely threw me. I wasn't expecting what I saw, but let's quickly go through a few bits. More CDM than centre-back. Yes, Swifty. More CDM than centre-backs. In fact, mate, spot on. He's more of a CDM than a centre-back. That's the perfect way to explain it. The Dutch are good at rolling the ball, a very undervalued skill. Mate, the Dutch keep that ball moving, bro. The Dutch keep that ball moving. Absolutely. And you're right. It is an undervalued skill. Nothing frustrates me more than when a player spends too much time on the ball and doesn't release it in a progressive way. The Dutch, they coach that. And the reason they do, and do you know what it is with the Dutch? They play five-a-side football until they're 16. A lot of the academies do five-a-side football. They don't even touch 11-a-side until they get to 16. So that ball's constantly moving in triangles. So spot on. Who said this? Whose news? Spot on. 30 more likes in the next 8 minutes, and I'll give away 5 free memberships. Boom! Brian Daigle, shout out for you in the chat. This is why I would like to see how Van de Ven stats compare to Longley. Do you know what? I didn't think to do that. It's a good shout. Green tea and jasmine, guys. Big up. Most leagues play the ball on the deck and shoot at set pieces. I'm just seeing if there's any questions about what I've said. I'm pleased you mentioned that at Stel. I love watching Super Jan do that. He does have Jan Vertonghen vibes, but the thing is, Jan Vertonghen was a top-class defender as well. Like, Jan Vertonghen was a solid defender. Him and Toby is a defensive block. I think one season we had the best defensive record in the whole of Europe. The obvious question is, if he's got some stats in the red from the Bundesliga, how many more will we have in the Prem? Can you see why I'm concerned? Stelios bigging up Mickey. Bet we don't get him. I'm bigging him up as a footballer. What Swifty said, CDM more than a defender. Fast enough to get back too. He is fast enough to get back, but only in a linear fashion, which means if he's running in a straight line, he's very good. If he's got change direction, a little bit suspect, which questions some agility issues there. Handy to defend when in the other's half. Only if he engages the ball and he doesn't enough, but then the stats suggest that he does. This is why when the eye test says to me he's too narrow, he doesn't engage enough. When I say engage, I mean actually put a tackle in. He doesn't do it high up enough. When I watch him, that's what I see. But the stats tell me something different. So either I'm missing it or I need to watch more games. Wolfsburg already play the system. We're talking about the system that we're going to play. Get the Van der Ven done deal, please. Take on percentage is poor, though, unfortunately. No, his take on percentage was good, C to the fourth. Take on percentage was good. Look, take on attempts, 94. It's one of the highest metrics that he's got. And successful take-ons is just as high. Have I got you confused in terms of what you're saying here? Let me know. Would he make a decent 6 if needed? Yeah, which is what Swifty said. I think so, yes. I think he would. Maybe that's what we're doing. We're going to double him up. Big up, Colin. How you doing? Still, I think age is on his side. Right, that's the positive I'm going to finish on. Good spot. The fact that he's so young, and I will end on that. You beat me to it. You beat me to it, my man. Good spot. And the raw stat is 0.15 per 90%. It's like once in every 8 games. It's nothing using the percentage base of other defenders. Yep. True. Celtic sold a highly sought after right back to Leverkusen. I already noticed they've been playing total football. Same scouting as Red Bull teams. I do think our scouting is changing. But with Levy in charge of transfers, I'm not so convinced as to how much it's changing. Just what Spurs need, another defender who can't defend, so he will be the 12th incompetent player to put mirror. Well, I'm a little bit more positive with him, Free Assange. I'm a little bit more positive because of his age. The fact he can actually play football means that it's a good foundation block for us to build upon. Because as it stands now, if he just came in at, let's say, 25 with these stats, I'd be worried. But coming in at 21, there's something we can build on. But I do have a concern regarding the coaching at Spurs on this, which I will cover as well. If we're pressing really high up the pitch, his recovery pace is far more important than his heading ability anyway. Yes, true. It will be more important. He backs himself in a foot race, so lets the ball bounce and uses physicality. Kuva, you're spot on. But what I spotted was only if it's a race in a straight line. If he has to change direction, there's an ability issue. And I think that's why he tends to go to ground, because he knows he's not going to make it. And which is why when I did the eye test, he overstretches his tackles. If you look at areas to improve on where it said defending, emergency defending, he overstretches his tackles too early and too often, which says to me that either he's panicking or when it's not a linear foot race and he has to, like I said, change direction. Why am I doing this? It's like a dance move. When he has to change direction, that's when he goes in. Sometimes he wins it, sometimes he doesn't, but quite often he goes in too soon. But you are right when you say, or should I say, I do agree with you when you say that it's better to be quicker in a foot race in a Postecoglou system than good in the air. If you're going to pick one, yeah. But surely we need both. And this is the problem, isn't it? We need both because we're awful at set pieces. If you look at the goals we conceded against West Ham, 2 of them, and the goal we conceded against the young boys, they just put a ball into the box and we came unstuck. So not being good in the air is a problem, not necessarily for a Postecoglou system, but for the frailties that Tottenham have inherently developed over the years. He's horrendous still. He's not horrendous, but if we're going to pay £45 million, I expect better from a defensive skill set. Key is to win throw-ins. That way you can stop crosses coming into the box. Or don't give away corners and free kicks. Can he learn that still? Yes, he can. And that's the positive ending. Yes, he can. But I don't know if we can coach it to him, and I'll explain to you why. This is actually a problem with Postecoglou. Refreshing analysis here still. Proper breakdown of strengths and weaknesses. Not weaknesses, areas to improve on. But I get your point. Overall, he's a good buy in your opinion. I'll tell you at the end what I think. I'll tell you at the end. He's everything Eric Dyer is without the heading ability. A passive. I don't think he's as incompetent and as idiotic as Eric Dyer. This player, Van de Ven, he's got football intelligence. And by the way, not everyone can have football intelligence, because if that was the case, everyone that goes to Oxford and Cambridge would become a footballer. Because football intelligence, you just got to be smart. It's about reading the game, understanding the game. Being smart enough doesn't mean you can have football intelligence. He's got football intelligence. I don't think Eric Dyer has. But I am concerned. He has got some... This backing off is very Dyer-esque. On that respect, I agree with you, Stefan. When it comes to the not engaging in the area that he needs to in a Postecoglou system, then he's got Dyer vibes. He does. That bit I agree. I don't think he's diabolical, though. There's a lot of positives with this boy. I know you and I had a chat, Stefan, and I was saying I'm not sure about him. I think he's overhyped. But last night I stayed up and I did my analysis, and I understand why we're trying to buy him, but I do have massive reservations about him defensively, especially as a Premier League player. But he's got the physical attribute for it. His defensive qualities technically are so overrated. He gets saved by his physical qualities. Yes, correct. But if that's all he needs, whilst he's young, we're going to have the best years of his physical qualities, right? Kuba, good point. Rayo has looked awesome, but his pace is slower than the super slow centre-backs he's played with. Contradict Spurs fans' opinion what Mickey Van de Ven offers. Most Spurs fans just pick off something off Twitter, or they listen to what the Athletics say, and that's their analysis done. I like to go back to basics and always look at the defensive principles of play. This is what I analyze a defender on. But then I also like to look at him on the ball in an attacking sense, because the system that we're going to play is very possession-based, two-touch football attacking. So when you analyze a player, the two things you've got to look at are, number one, what are the principles of play for the position that the player is going to be playing in, defender? And two, what type of football are you going to play? So assess them as an individual, as a defender, and as a component of a team that plays a certain way. That's the way I like to do it. Is that the right way? It's my way. There's no wrong or right. But this has worked for me for many years in understanding players. And when I coach and I develop a player, this is kind of the process I would go for. Also, you've got the 5 corners of sport: physical, social, tactical, technical, and psychological. I can't do a psychological analysis. I don't know him, and there's no access to that kind of data. A lot of it is private and personal, the psychological state of a player, so I can't do that. Tactically, I haven't seen him play in Andrew's system yet, so I can't do that. Technically, I've done that. I'll show you at the end my technical hot buttons with him. In terms of social, I can't do a social analysis because I don't know what he's like with his teammates. I don't know what he's like as a friend and as a communicator on the pitch. Physically, I can do that. So there's some bits I can do from where I am. A lot of it I can't do. So this is the way I like to do it. If I worked with him one-to-one, my analysis would be slightly different. Let's compare him to Tapsoba. So what I did was I compared him to Tapsoba. on a attacking possession sense and a defensive out of possession sense. So let's do the possession first. Now, when it comes to possession, the key difference I found between Tapsoba and Mickey van der Ven was Tapsoba gets a lot more touches on the ball. He seems to be far more active. In fact, let me do that so you can see my face. He's far more active and far more engaged in the game. Now, this could be for two reasons. One, he's just more involved in the play because he's confident at being more involved in the play, and he's more influential in the game as a possession attacking player component of the team. Or what I think it might be is the way Leverkusen play compared to Wolfsburg. If Leverkusen play a more possession-based football, that might explain it. But I haven't done an analysis on Wolfsburg and Leverkusen in terms of how they play. But certainly, Tapsoba, he's certainly more involved in the play. He gets almost 20% more touch on the ball than Van der Ven. A lot of the touches as well are in the defensive area. So this would suggest to me that Tapsoba plays a bit more defensive than Van der Ven. So if we're looking for a defender, this is an early sign to suggest that Tapsoba is more better for us on a defensive side of play and being good on the ball, getting more touches. Whereas Van der Ven, he gets a lot more of his touches high up the pitch, 141 compared to 109 for Tapsoba. But in terms of defensive touches, Tapsoba 254, Mickey van der Ven 188. In the midfield, Tapsoba slightly more, but nothing too convincing. So high up the pitch, Van der Ven seems more active. Further back, near our goal, Tapsoba's more active. Like I said, Van der Ven looks to me like he's more of a box-to-box player. In terms of take-ons, Van der Ven is he attempts more, but Tapsoba is more successful. 64% success rate compared to 59. So actually, in 1v1 situations, Tapsoba is better. That surprised me. I was not expecting that. In terms of carries, Tapsoba slightly better, but then he's done more. So that probably evens out. Tapsoba covers a lot more distance. He covers a lot more distance, almost 33% more distance. So just from a possession-based attacking mindset, which player would I buy, Tapsoba or Van der Ven? I'm going Tapsoba. Tapsoba is better from an attacking possession-based sense. By the way, attacking doesn't mean high up the pitch. As soon as you get possession of the ball, you go into the attacking phase. So you know when teams build up from the back? Well, that is the attack. The attack starts there, so that is the attacking phase. When comparing them in a defensive head-to-head, tackles, they're pretty similar. Again, Tapsoba puts in more tackles in the defensive third. But here's the bit that surprised me. Remember when I said that an area to improve on is to push up more into the midfield and get his tackles in? And then when we looked at the defensive stats, actually, most of his tackles are in the midfield, which contradicts the eye test. Well, it's happened again. He puts more tackles in midfield than Tapsoba. And this is just confusing me because when I watch him play, I'm not seeing it. And I'm looking for it and I don't see it. But the statistics say that he is doing it, which means I think I need to watch more games of Van der Ven to really understand this. Because compared to Tapsoba, he's more active in the midfield in his tackling. Van der Ven is more active than Tapsoba in the midfield for tackling. So what I'm really beginning to understand is that Van der Ven is exactly what I said earlier on. He's more of a box-to-box midfielder, or like Swifty and someone else mentioned, he's more of a number 6. Whereas Tapsoba, he's more of a defender. Sorry, these are the possession stats, beg your pardon, defensive stats. In terms of challenges, they're equal. They're pretty much the same in terms of tackles attempted and tackles lost. which might actually say Tapsoba isn't as good as defending as what I thought, but it depends where those tackles are. Because if all his tackles in the defensive area are really high, then that would say that actually Tapsoba is a better defender. I think that's kind of where my assessment has led me to, that as a footballer and as someone who can transition from defense into attacking phase and get us up the pitch, Van de Ven's the better player. But in terms of a defender, Tapsoba's better. So I'm a bit torn. But again, when we look to the possession stats, Tapsoba's better in 1v1 situations. I think this take on stat, I need to see where he's taking on the player, because Van de Ven seems to do it more upfield, and the statistics suggest us that Tapsoba isn't as active in that area as much as Van de Ven. Make of it what you want, but I was surprised how close they were. I thought there'd be this big gap, but it's not. They're not as far off each other. That's the bit that surprised me. One's a better footballer, one's a better defender. What do you do? Buy both. Don't buy one, buy both. I'll take a few more comments and then I'll conclude my analysis. Sorry, I haven't managed to go through all your comments today, guys. There's a lot of images I wanted to show you, and there's a lot that I wanted to cover today. So apologies for that. As a pairing, you want characteristics that are different but blend well together, because a lot will be passing to each other, which is why I just said, really, we need to buy both players. I think Tapsoba, by the way, is a better suit next to Romero. I don't think Van de Ven is a good suit next to Romero. That's another thing that I would suggest. Guys, please smash the like, subscribe to the channel. Your support is always welcome. Thank you so much. Consider the Tapsoba stats have Europa and Champions League appearances there too. No, I took out the European statistics. C4. The statistics you see there are just domestic games, because they both play in the same league. So I thought if they both play in the German league, let me just do a German league comparison. So I took that out deliberately to make the analysis. I think this is why the analysis came closer. I think if you put Europe into it, maybe it would swing it. But when you just look at them as domestic German league players only, I was surprised. The 3 average advantage Van de Ven have over Tapsoba, and the fact you say he can learn to improve, correct. That goes in Van de Ven's favour, absolutely. Stel, are you allowed to show video footage? Unfortunately, not. That's why our channel got taken down last time. On video footage of the things you're talking about. I noticed other channels I don't know how they do it. We lost our channel doing it. I was gifted a membership. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you to Elias. He's given memberships to people. I think he ran some kind of challenge or competition in the chat. I checked the average possession stats of Leverkusen and Wolfsburg, both very similar. Leverkusen 51, Wolfsburg 50. There you go. So they both play similar ways. So when I asked the question if Tapsoba gets more touched on the ball because of the way they play, then the answer is, if we're just going by possession-based stats, which isn't enough, but as a guide, then that would suggest maybe the answer is no, that actually Tapsoba is more involved in the play. He's more engaged in the game. But again, if he's older than Van de Ven, then Tapsoba's more confident, so he's probably going to be more comfortable. Yeah, pass me the ball. Give me the ball. I want to be involved. I want to help. I want to support. I want to be engaged in the game more than you, whereas someone that's younger might not have as much confidence. Therefore, they're growing into that role of demanding the ball. That could be another factor. That in itself needs an in-depth analysis. Still, did you look at the VDV stats I mentioned? Look at video. I don't know if I did. It's poor, and the times tackled. Yeah, the tackling I've said is lacking, and the stats back it up. The eye test and the stats back it up. Dan just reported saying we've called out interest in Tapsoba. Well, there's the ambition for you, right? There's the ambition for you. If we don't get Tapsoba as well as Van de Ven, then what's the point? Big up, Stel. Big up. Ball with bean counter. Congratulations to all the channel members. Thank you, Elias, for doing that. The Dutch must highly rate him due to him being the captain in his youth setup, which must also be a strong quality to bring to the squad. We have a lack of leaders. Look, I think playing for your country is always something you got to take with a pinch of salt. Don't forget, Eric Dyer plays for England, and he's just terrible. The fact he's captain, though, yeah, that's a good point. Look, hopefully he can bring those leadership attributes to Spurs because, like you said, we do need them. I have concerns about Vicario. He seems to be unable to hold the ball. Looking at both friendlies, the opposition scored every attempt. Yeah. Should sign him regardless. I'm sure that the defensive maestro Dyer will take him under his wing. He'll ruin him, right? But buying defenders now leaves little time to fit into the team. Well, they've got to do it now if we're going to have a good season. Can't delay much longer. It's already a disaster for me not bringing the defenders in early. VDV and Tapsoba are both needed in the new system. I agree, John. We need both. One is not good enough. If we're serious, but then someone's just saying that Dan Kilpatrick has reported that we've softened our stance on wanting to bring in Tapsoba. Leverkusen have much more possession in Europe than in the Bundesliga. They got 58% in the Euro League. Yeah, but that's because the Euro League is trash. It's not good, is it? That's probably why. I'm fascinated by your record collection. This is years. I started when I was 17 collecting. I'm in my 40s now, so good 25 plus years. Top analysis, Stel. Big up, Pete. Thank you. Yeah, it's not too complicated. I could have gone much deeper, but I literally did it last night. I set up and I just did some analysis and appreciate your comment. Put it this way, Stel. I'd much happier seeing us kick off with any combination of Romero, VDV, and Tapsoba than seeing the combination of Romero. Kuva, you and I 100% agree on that. There is no way I want to see Dyer and Davies play for Spurs ever again. Call me harsh, call me OTT. I don't care. I'm sick of them. So is Kuva. I think we all are. It is what it is. All right, let's wrap it up here, and then we'll do some questions at the end. One more comment here. Van de Ven is only 2 years younger than Tapsoba. People are talking about Tapsoba as an old man. Both players should be brought in. Yeah, both should be brought in. You're absolutely right. Now, before I conclude on what I think, just some technical attributes I noticed when watching him play. Whether it interests you or not, I don't know. But if I'm going to do a good analysis, I should put this in. He always receives a pass using the inside of his foot, which is the best for a good first touch and ball control. Now, some players like to receive the ball on the outside of the foot. Some like to receive on the inside. Some on the laces. The fact he always opens up his foot and receives it. Listen, some things in life, just stick to the basics and be brilliant at the basics and you'll never go wrong. When he receives the ball, he always does it the basic way and really well. Now, for most people, who cares? Oh, I didn't even see it. But this is why a player that keeps the ball does so. And he does keep the ball really well. And it's because it begins with the first touch and ball control. He always uses the inside of the foot. Next time you watch him play, look how he receives the ball. He's a typical Dutch player. He's comfortable using both feet. He is predominantly left-footed, but he is very comfortable. Left foot, right foot, shades of Vertonghen. Remember what I said earlier? The third technical attribute I noticed was when he's facing towards goal, so when he's facing our own goalkeeper, he likes to receive the ball on the inside of his foot, like I've already said, but then he quickly shifts the ball onto his left foot. So he receives on the right, shifts onto the left, and then he pulls away with an explosive burst of speed and power through the lower gears. So imagine a car going from first gear, second gear. He's got an explosive burst there. And what he does is he'll receive the ball on the inside, pass it onto this foot, and then go. He does that a lot. Receive on one, pass it onto the other. That is coached, by the way. We teach players to do that. Receive on one, pass it onto the other. The reason you do that is if I pass it onto this foot and the defender's coming here, if I shift the ball here, now the defender has to come here. I can go. So it's literally come to me, move, pull away. He does that and he does it really well. Really, really well. And it's because he's got that explosive little burst of pace, which allows him to do it. Plus, being comfortable using using both feet. So when you look at the first two technical attributes, being good with opening up his foot, inside touch, ball control, and being comfortable on both feet, when you put those two together, the first 2 points, that's what allows him to do the third point, which is receive on one foot, pass on the other, pull away. The other thing I've noticed is when he's got his back to goal, sorry, the third point, when I said facing towards the goal, I meant facing the goal we're going to score in. The last point where I say when he's got his back to the goal we're attacking. So when he's facing our goalkeeper, he's got this little trick that he does really well, and he keeps pulling it off. I'm surprised no one's actually sussed him out, but he'll feint an inside cut. Then he'll change direction using the other foot. And what he does basically is he'll pretend to go this way, but then he'll turn that way. But he'll use the outside of the foot to do it. So he used the inside of the foot. Let me get I'll use my slipper. Look at this for ingenuity. He'll receive the ball here and go this way. And then he puts his foot over the ball and uses the outside to turn and then spin the player 180. So it's in, out. Have you ever seen a YouTuber do this with a slipper? Have you ever seen that before? I'm losing the plot. But I need to get a football boot next time to show you. But that's what he does. In and then out. That's otherwise known as an outside hook. And he does it in a 180 turn. Just watch him play when he's in a tight area and how he gets out of it. It's inside, outside hook. Again, that's been coached. He's really good at that as well. So just to recap some technical attributes that he has on the ball. Receives it on the inside of the foot. Great for ball control, and he does it really well. He's comfortable using both feet. He likes to receive the ball on one foot, then put it onto the other foot, and then pull away with pace and power. And he likes to do this 180 turn, beginning on the inside of the foot, then switching to the other foot, typically the left. And that outside hook turn is actually called an outside hook. So there's some technical attributes for you next time you watch him. See if you can spot them if you're interested in that kind of stuff. So my conclusion is this. I think he's a good footballer, but I'm concerned about him defensively. When I think of a Postecoglou team, I think he's a good fit for the team, but for the weaknesses we've got, he's not a good fit. So what do? Well, you take a bit of a punt. He's 21. He can be coached. The weaknesses can be coached. There's no doubt, because I don't call them weaknesses. I call them areas to improve on. So we can improve him. There's no doubt we can. Remember when Pochettino came to Spurs, what he did with Kyle Walker and Danny Rose, he elevated them. So a good coach can get a young player and give them what they need. Here's my issue, guys. Here's my one issue I've got. I've heard Postecoglou say quite often when he was at other clubs, because I watched interviews and him in documentaries where he says he focuses more on attacking. He's not so defensive minded. He doesn't coach defending too much. If we had Pochettino as the manager, I think this player would be a really good signing, because Poch has proven he can work and develop defenders, because Poch used to be a professional defender. Ange wasn't that player, the level Poch was, and Poch has proven he can develop defenders. Now, look, I could be wrong. Ange always surprises people everywhere he goes, but is Ange the right person to develop a defender? I don't know. I don't know if Ange Postecoglou is the right person to develop a defender. I hope he is. I hope Ange can develop a defender. I've not seen it, and I've not heard him talk about it for me to feel confident about it. If we've got coaches at the club that can do it, then brilliant. Doesn't matter if Ange can't do it. If we've got coaches that can coach the art of defending, actually when to time a tackle, what foot to go in to win a ball, when to block, when to push out and engage, when to step back and delay, when to dictate the play, when to press, the fundamentals. Remember what I said earlier on? The principles of play, guys. Pressing, emergency defending, delay, deny, and dictate. If we can have a defensive coach who can do that, then I think it's worth signing Van de Ven. However, if we haven't got that team that can do that, I think we might waste a lot of money here. from a defensive perspective. But at 21 years old, he's got so many years ahead of him. If you're going to coach someone to do things a certain way, now really is the time, because he's going to no longer be a youth player. Like I said, your youth up until 21, well, he's now there. Now he's, you're an adult now. You're becoming an adult footballer in terms of the definitions that the FA like to set on what's youth and what's adult. So my final conclusion, on the ball, in possession, attacking, I think he's a really, really good player. Defending, out of possession, defender, I've got big concerns. Positives, his age, he can be coached. Issues, have we got the right people at Spurs and manager to coach the defensive side to his game? I'm on the fence with it, guys. I really am on the fence with this player. Why I'm leaning towards more being worried than optimistic is because if Tottenham was a car, up front, we're a Lamborghini. In midfield, we're a BMW. In defense, we're for the scrap heap. This is the Tottenham car. Do we really want to spend £45 million on someone that can't defend when that's the part of the car that needs major surgery? I don't know, man. It doesn't add up. So, look, I never write off a player, especially a young player. I'll always back a young player. He is young. Do I believe he can learn and do I believe he can become a top player? Yes, I do. For £45 million, should we be having this conversation? No, we shouldn't. Is Ange and his team the right team to develop his defensive side that needs most attention? I don't know. I just don't know, because they never talk about it in any of the videos or documentaries they've done. If anything, he actually acknowledges, I've seen and heard Postecoglou acknowledge that the defensive side of his game is somewhat lacking in terms of coaching it. What do you think, guys? What's your thoughts? Is it a yes or is it a no, or are you 50-50? I'm 50-50. That's where I'm at. Let's see what you guys think. Sounds like he should play left back. No. I don't think he should play left back. But everyone's allowed their opinion. Is our scouting really gone downhill that badly since Mitchell left? Again, this could turn out to be a good player, Alpesh. I'm 50-50. But I just feel like when you spend £45 million, you should have the finished product. You shouldn't be worried or concerned about it. I'm at 57%. That's good, GG. Would Højbjerg make a decent centre-back since Basuma is the nailed CDM? No, I would not put Højbjerg at centre-back. He hasn't got the pace. Not for the way we're going to play. I haven't seen this guy playing never, so comment, need to wait. Yeah, we should always wait, absolutely. It's about 40%. I'm at 69%. Okay, so most of you are like, yeah, give it a go. It's like having our dealers as manager again. A lot of people have said that. For mine, yes. If Ange believes he can succeed, for me, it's a yes. I'm a 99 sort of man. Breaking news from Cuva 99. Big up, Cuva, man. Big up. Long time no see and speak. Porro should be playing as a right wing forward. None of our fullbacks can defend. Sessegnon for me can't defend. Reggie can't defend. Porro can't defend. Udoji, I watched him. I don't think he can defend. Chicken Royale can defend, but we don't play with defensive fullbacks in a Postecoglou system. Spence, who's Jed Spence? No idea. I don't think any of our when Perisic played fullback, he couldn't defend. It's a lot of money for a player on 50-50. Yeah, 50-50 as well. I'd rather Tapsoba, but only if we get VDV. Agree. To all my good friends in the chat and stay us good Tottenham day. Let's hope so, man. We need some good days. Is our scouting really gone? I've done this one already. I'm good. Okay, people talking to each other here. Greg Taylor. Left back for Celtic was largely written off as useless before Ange took over at Celtic, transformed into one of the first names chosen team sheet. And hence why I have said at 21 he can be coached. If he can coach Van der Ven, then it's worth giving it a go. If he can't, and I'm talking from a defensive aspect, I don't know what the left back was like. What was the left back like in terms of defending? Did Ange turn him into a really good attacking left back or just a defending outright left back? If he helped him defensively, then that's good news. Music to my ears. What I want to hear. Ange should be able to teach it. He was defender when he played. Look, like I said, I'm going by what he said and what I've heard in documentaries when he talks about defending. He even admits he doesn't focus on it too much. So, look, if he can teach it, brilliant, because that's what needs to be taught with this player. It's the defensive side that's lacking. I'm not against Van der Ven. I'm just 50-50 because I've got concerns about the defensive side. On the ball, helping us with the attacks, keeping possession, it's a no-brainer. Sign him. And like many people have said today, and I agree with it, he does sound like a number 6, a good one. During his training sessions, I haven't seen any defending drills. This is what I'm saying to you. Like, he's even admitted it. He's even said it himself about defending. Ben, how many Spurs channels are you modding? Ben is a moderator for every single Spurs channel. He is literally the Spurs community moderator. We should just call him the Mod God. What a name. The Mod God. Where's the Mod God? Get a t-shirt. Mod God. Stel doesn't have in his squad of assistants a defensive coach or coaches. Are you asking me if he does, or you're saying that he doesn't? It's a dying art form, the defender showboating back in the 80s. Yeah. When football was football. The Roda shuffle. Do you remember him? Roda. Glenn Roda. Bloody hell. Became well known after Glenn Roda at QPR and Newcastle. Didn't he became a manager at West Ham as well, I think. Super Jan had a really good pirouette on occasions too. Watch out for that skill I talked about when I got my slipper out and I said he turns inside, then cuts with an outside hook. Van der Ven does have that one skill he uses a lot and really, really effectively. Glenn Roda, that's a blast from the past. When you improve balance on your kicking foot, it improves touch, speed on the ball with your kicking foot. Let me read this again. When you improve balance on your kicking foot, it improves touch and speed on the ball with your kicking foot. When you improve balance, you improve your overall agility. ABC, agility, balance, coordination. Balance is the B in ABC. Your overall agility is improved when you improve your balance. So balance improves all agility. If the fans give him time and don't destroy his confidence, he will grow into the player we want. I hope so. Listen, I really hope so. That is what we want. Big up Ben Kaufman in the house. Thanks for sending your viewers over to me earlier on. Much appreciated. Next time you go live, if I'm before you, I will send them all across. Stel, are you not giving your opponents the way to beat his moves defending out? Listen, if our rivals are watching me, they've got a problem because they get paid millions of pounds to do a job. And if they're depending on my YouTube channel, boy. Could you imagine, though? They do. That would be funny. I would absolutely hire you as a director of football for Tottenham. It was in my hand. You could bring some world-class players in. I used to do scouting. I did my... So there's the FA have got different coaching... different scouting badges. They call it Talent ID. You've got Talent ID level 1, 2, 3, 4. I got up to... Was it 2? No, 3. Got up to Talent ID 3. And I worked alongside some really good scouts. So, yeah. Thing with scouting is you've got to watch a lot of football and a lot of rubbish games just to spot one good player. It's a bit like recruitment. You've got to go through thousands of CVs just to find the one that you're going to headhunt. So it can be tiresome. What I really want to touch on before we I love these coaching acronyms still. Have you Have you got a talk about control, unity, and nimbleness? Ha ha ha! Very funny. I see you. I see what you did there, Kuva. No, but I have got one on magic, uniformity, and goat. So VDV not close apparently. Well, Daniel Levy's in charge, so there you go. We all did still, yeah. That's it. Off topic, Bielsa will be an excellent scout. I'll tell you who was a really good scout, and we just mugged him off, was David Pleat. He was our manager in the 80s, 87, I think. He lost us the cup final. Well, he never lost it. It was an own goal, whatever. He's a really good scout. He actually told Spurs many years ago, bring Maddison to the club. Bring Jack Grealish to the club. He's a brilliant scout of English talent. But we just don't listen to him. Like most things at Spurs, we don't listen. Learn to play with Stel Slipper. When's the DVD coming out? I prefer if we called it Slip It On Stel. Or Stel Slips It On, something like that. Get a bit of a connotation going of some sexual innuendo. Still, I'm bringing my 5-year-old to his first game on Sunday. We'll pop over and say hello, mate. I'm not there. I'm away this weekend, dude. Iggy and JP will be there. I'm so sorry. I'm not there this weekend. I'm away. Otherwise, yeah, I'd say yes. I will be there for Man United, though. I'll be at the protests. So if you're there for Man United, probably not. You've probably been priced out. Hence why we're protesting. It's the Vince Lombardi ethos. Attack is better form than defence. Otherwise known as the Ozzy Ardiles philosophy. If the weakness part of Van der Ven's game can be taught, then would we have another Super Jan on our hands? Yes, we would. That was an easy one, wasn't it? It's risky business with someone with only 1 year of top football. It's risky business when you don't have all the defensive attributes nailed down to be paying 45 million as well. He's a good footballer and he's quick. I'm happy with signing him. We're stronger for it, even if he's not the complete package. And you know what? Cooper makes a good point here, guys. He's better than Ben Davies. He's better than Eric Dyer. He's better than Joe Rodon. He's better than a lot of players we've got at the club. Let's be honest. And even if he's a flop, I just don't want to see Dyer and Davies anymore. After the analysis, the question is who really wants to sign him, and you're supposed to be a football man. Well, like I said, I'm 50-50 with it, Ben. I'm 50-50 with this. Still, why are some of the good academy coaches that you know quitting Spurs? It's because we start a plan and we never see it out and we keep reshuffling the deck. So Paratici came in and part of his job was to restructure these things. He started putting in his scouting network and restructuring the academy, but then he got done for fraud. So a new guy comes in. He wants to do it his way. He'll last, 2-3 years. Then the next guy comes in. He'll want to restructure it. We've got too much turnover at Spurs when it comes to staffing and key issues. Look at the managers, 17 managers in 23 years, 6 football directors, head scouts in 23 years. So when you've got such a high turnover of key personnel in the footballing aspect of the club, that's what's going to happen. Hence why, and I haven't said it all day, but I'll just say it this once, hence why I'm Levy out, Enoch out. Morning, Stel. Does defensive specialist coaches not exist anymore? Yeah, they do, but I don't know if we've got them at Spurs in our coaching team. How did George Graham get Arsenal for years and Spurs that one season? Look, he built his managerial career off of it. Same as Mourinho, same as Conte. But look what fans... Weren't Arsenal called boring, boring Arsenal? 1-0 to the Arsenal. They used to sing it because it was so boring and predictable. Just 1-0, get a goal and defend. Are Spurs fans going to tolerate that? No. Did they tolerate Jose? No. Did they tolerate Conte? No. They called it turgid football. So this is the direction we have to go in for fans to be happier. And let's be honest, we all prefer to watch good football as opposed to defensive football. I think what you need is balance. Pep Guardiola, his teams play amazing football. They play a really expansive, dynamic, front-footed type of football, but they can also defend in the defensive mid-area and the defensive unit and as a goalkeeper. But they buy in brilliant players. They bring in quality. One last thing. Breaking news last night. Fabrizio Romano, or Fabrizio, should I say. Alejo Veliz to Tottenham. Here we go. The talented 2003 striker will join Spurs on long-term deal. Verbally agreed in the morning, despite interest from another top club. The package is roughly 15 million euros, which is about 11, 12 million pounds, plus add-ons from Argentinian club Rosario Central. Medical to take place in the next few days. Now, with this particular signing, I had a brief look at it. Again, I didn't have time to do an analysis because I was working on the Van de Ven stuff for the show today. He seems like a Lautaro Martinez player, the striker at Inter Milan, but with more height and power. So Lautaro Martinez is quite a small player. He's bigger. That's not a bad player. It's not a bad player to have at all. However, I don't know if you know the guy who used to work for the BBC, who now lives in South America, and he covers all South American football. Is an English chap called Tim Vickery. Now, Tim Vickery, he's almost the voice of South American football for us British fans over here. Tim Vickery is one of us. He's a Spurs fan. And he was interviewed today. I can't remember what the interview is. If I can find it, I'll put it in the chat. If anyone's got the interview of Tim Vickery, can you please put it in the chat so everyone else watching can see what he said? Listen, when it comes to South American football, I listen to Tim Vickery. He's also a really good pundit, good commentator, and he's a Spurs fan. Elias, thank you. He'll put it in the chat. He said he doesn't think he's a good player and a good fit for Spurs right now. He actually had... Oh, it was on Sky Sports. There you go. Thank you, Callum. He actually knocked the signing. Now, if that's the case, we're signing another Postiga, another Helga Postiga, another Gio Di Santos. Look, Tim Vickery is Tim Vickery. He's not a manager. He's not a coach. He's a sports pundit, but he specializes in South America. I'm worried that if these are the kind of signings that are going to be the Kane replacement, then why? Why Tottenham? Just go and get an out-and-out top striker, you know? Like, unless they've seen something that they can develop and they think, do you know what? This is... I don't like it when people call players wonder kid. It's almost like you turn 19 years old, you're a wonder kid. Why? Why are you a wonder kid? Everyone's a wonder kid. What? Because they're 19. What has he done that is so wonderful and mind-blowing? Wayne Rooney was a wonder kid. When Wayne Rooney burst onto the scene at 16, 17, he just lit up the show. Do you remember that first touch? Then he turned and hit that long-range curler into the top bins against Arsenal in an Everton shirt, and everyone went crazy. And the commentator said, wow, Wayne Rooney, he's arrived. That's a wonder kid. Why is this player someone we've never even heard of? What's his name again? I've never heard of him, by the way. Alejo Veliz. We'll remember that. Just remember that Mile Jeniak is his assistant coach. I'm sure he'll be able to give EDV tips and training. Good. That's what I want to hear. That's what you do. You sign Gift Orban. Would he want to come to Spurs? Probably not. But that's an ambitious signing. That's what you should do. Postiga improved when he left us. Guys, there's a Tim Vickery interview. You can also find it on the Spurs Web's Twitter page. Go to Spurs Web on Twitter. There's a YouTube link as well. Thank you, Tony Rodriguez as well. Big up. He's given us a YouTube link. Check it out. So I will look into it a bit more. Maybe Will Stewart will do it because I know Will likes to do his analyses as well. Wolves signed also last season wonder kid Joe Gomez. Yeah, do you remember that? What a disaster he's been. Absolute flop. Tim Vickeries doesn't rate Veliz. No, he doesn't. He said he's not ready now. I don't think he said, look, he's rubbish, he's no good. He said, look, right now, this doesn't make sense. He hasn't had enough pro football either. Ask Murray. Yeah, I will speak to Murray because Murray also follows South American football. Good shout. If Barcelona Ajax sign of Veliz, he'll get time to develop. When we sign players like that, they'll sit on the bench all season. And you know what, Kuva? Jed Spence is a perfect example. He hasn't featured in pre-season. He's only ever been out on loan. He never plays for Spurs. Why is he still at the club? Like, we ruin young players. Alfie Devine, he played 45 minutes against West Ham. Fans got a little bit excited. And then against the Sailors, he's not even there. Gets no minutes. It's like, why would we do that? We do have this issue with young players. I watched back the Naeem goal from the halfway line. Absolutely magic that was. Absolutely magic that was. Some Spurs fans in some quarters saying that he could be the new Messi. Oh, my God. Yeah, Brian Hill was going to be the next Messi. Do you remember that? Brian Hill, how's that worked out? I don't think Joe Gomez has been a flop coming January, playing only 6 games and looks promising. All right. But so far, has he done it yet? Promising. Potential. One for the future. These are words I always hear. Maybe you're just being a little bit biased Wolves F1 because he's a Wolves player. Look, you're right. Let's give him a chance. If he has a good season this year, then come back at me and I'll say, yeah, you called it. Fair play. Maxi Perron would have been a good replacement for Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, but I think Velez, I've sold him to Man City. He was the difference maker for Rosario this season, but the Liga players doesn't translate right away. It takes 1 or 2 leagues in between for Liga players to come through. Look, guys, regarding our young Ricky Villar here, Alejo Veliz, I know nothing about him. I can't comment. I can't tell you what I think. I'm just going by what Tim Vickery said. That's all. I'm just repeating Tim Vickery's comments. And I do tend to side with Tim Vickery because, listen, he's one of very few pundits, journalists, media people that I really like. I've always liked Tim Vickery. I think he's a cool character. I think he talks a lot of sense. And he's a Spurs fan. So he's going to have our best interests at heart, you'd like to think. Let's see. There's talk that he might have to go back on loan, so we won't even have him until January. But I've also heard that Spurs are trying to get him in now and avoid that whole deal scenario like we did with the Doji. We want him now. So let's see on that one. Hit the likes and subscribe. Let's make it 200. Thank you, guys. Like, subscribe, follow the channel. Just go out there and get Ivan Toney. Absolutely. Vlahovic, Gift Orban, Ivan Toney, any one of those 3 is a serious signing to replace Harry Kane as someone that scores goals. Veliz, the Pigeon, Richarlison. Might as well put Dyer up front. At least he can score the odd header. You never know, Levy may be planning a tour of Argentina. Well, the owners have already pillaged their rainforests. So, yeah, makes sense to go back there. Tony can't be signed now. I heard that as well. Tony's homegrown as well. Great point. Great point, that. Homegrown quota. Harry Kane's homegrown. He's leaving. We need to replace with homegrown. Great point, that. Something that we're just completely forgetting because we're just so submerged in this cesspit of our transfer window. Richie is perfect for Ange. We will see. I don't think Richie's a good player. I really don't. But this season will be very telling, and I'm open-minded. I take Gift Orban. I think we all will, to be fair. Guys, I'm going to wrap it up. I only wanted to do an hour. Again, I've gone over. Once again, I've gone too long. I hope this show served you well. I personally don't think we need to buy a new striker. Son and Richie are fine to pull defenders rather than spend the money on centre-back, CDM and winger. So I think we need to buy all these players. I think we need to buy centre-backs. I think we need to buy full-backs that can actually defend. I think we need to buy a replacement for Basuma and Pape Sarr go to the African nations in January. We're not gonna have them for January. If we sell Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, that means all we've got is 2. Skip. That's it. We need to buy a number 6, people. Right? We need a number 6. It's part of the ban, part of the criteria that he can't be sold. The 3 hermanos, Gio, Kuti, and Veliz. It just sounds like red card, suspension, injury. Spurs need 2 strikers and subs them at 60 minutes, mate. I agree. Thank you for the stream today, Stel. I learned a lot today. Big up. Appreciate your comments. Big up, Stel. Nice in-depth analysis. Big up to you as well. I don't think so. Wolves don't think Tony is... Yeah, the Tony thing, he's not allowed to sign until January. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Listen, have a great weekend. I won't be around this weekend. I'm going away. Going to be having a bit of a festival, catching up with some friends, just doing something that isn't Spurs, which is healthy for everyone. So make sure you enjoy yourself outside of Spurs as well, because this club will drag us down. Royal can play a 6. No, I can't buy into that. I'm just going to cut that one right off. Sorry. Nah, bollocks to defending. Just pebble dash the opponent's goal and win 7-5 every game. Listen, it'll make great viewing. We won't be bored. Cardiac arrest every game, yes, but we won't be bored. Casey going to Saudis. Yeah, that's a shame. Have a great time still. Thank you. You have a great weekend as well. Hopefully Benton will be back in January for number 6. No, I think Benton's more of a number 8. I don't think he's a number 6. I think he's a number 8 or a 7. You two have a nice trip. Another balanced look at the player, eye test and data. Always do both. Top show, big up, and Royal can't play 6. I agree. People, you have yourselves a great weekend. Enjoy. Don't worry about Spurs. Yes, we're playing Shakhtar Donetsk, but at the end of the day, let's take a little break. Enjoy it. Life I'm talking about. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
The first game we look for, Robbie. Tottenham away. When we got Tottenham away. Tottenham away. When we got Tottenham away.